All right, we're live. Welcome, penny stock billionaires. We've got an exciting show for you today. I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite stocks I've been looking at. I mean, this is amazing. This is Genius. GNS is the symbol. Genius Group. Now, look, if you've been following, the show here, you've been following my Twitter, which is actually the Wall Street Reporter Twitter account because the penny stock billionaire Twitter account was actually how shall we say this? It was closed down by Twitter. Apparently, they didn't like some of our political commentary. I have no idea. This is a couple months back, maybe about 4 or 5 months ago. So that account is not operational. Only Wall Street Reporter is the account that's available, and we're not making any political comments there because apparently you can't say things about Biden's proclivities with his daughter, the diary. Apparently, that was the reason that account got shut down. But look, guys, this is a fact. This is all truth. It's all absolutely factual. Just like the Hunter Biden laptop, which they were claiming was a Russian hoax. Now we're finding out it's not. Just like we heard that the Chinese flu was racist. It was a hoax. Now we find out no, it actually came from the Wuhan lab. It was actually released by China. The FBI is coming out with this. Now these things are coming out. So anyway, I don't want to get into a political thing, but I'm finding this very fascinating because this stock Genius is GNS. Now, on the Wall Street Reporter account, I remember about a month back, I told you guys that this thing was breaking out. Now, again, this is a piece of shit. This company is absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. It is worthless. Absolute garbage. But the stock had a major move. I think when it was like $1, when it was around $1 or $2, I said, look, this thing is going to double. You got to go back to my Twitter thing, wherever it was. But I said it's going to double. And sure enough, it doubled. It went to $5. When it was 5, I said, this is going to 7. And it was at 5 or 7. I said, look, it's done. The move is done. This thing is going to collapse back to 0 because ultimately this company is absolutely worthless. It's garbage. Look, guys, if you read my book, and again, go to Amazon, get this book, 10-Bagger Blueprint, because it's going to do 2 things for you. Number 1 is you're going to learn how to find stocks that have 10x upside potential. That's right, stocks that can become 10 baggers, like this book says. A 10-bagger is a stock that goes up 1,000%, right? And in the last, in the last couple of years, I've given you guys 10 of those stocks that have increased between 1,000 and 5,000% actually. And we've had actually, let me run this over here. We've also had countless stocks that have doubled, tripled, up 500%, et cetera, et cetera. Look, over the course of my career, I've had countless stocks that have been 10 baggers, even a couple hundred baggers, right? Again, check out this book, 10-Bagger Blueprint, because number 1 is it's going to tell you, it will tell you, get this on Amazon. By the way, the price just went up to $19.95. A couple of weeks ago, you could have gotten it for $14.95 because I'm not making money from this book. This is not a full profit business. I'm only doing this book. The only reason I wrote this book, I spent the time putting everything I know on paper, everything I know about making stocks go up. That's right. Nobody else has created over $1 trillion in wealth for investors except yours truly in the last number of years. I'm the only guy who's ever done it. Nobody else on the planet has ever brought investors so many stocks that have become 10 baggers. So look, I figured, look, let me put this book together, share all my knowledge so that you can become better investors, so that when we introduce our next super stock, you know when to buy it and when also to sell it. Very important. You got to get out of these things. When, at some point, all these things peak out, you got to pack the parachute and you got to bail out. The other thing you would learn from this book is how to spot stocks that are scams, that are fugazis, that are worthless garbage, like the stock GNS, Genius Group. Now, I gave you my whole analysis of it before, but it's very fascinating what's going on right now. Let me give you the technical picture first, and then I'm going to talk about a couple of other stocks, which I believe are fugazi stocks that are going to be collapsing very shortly. And again, if you had the book 10-Bagger Blueprint, you would know how to spot these. If you're not, think of this as a cheap form of insurance. It's a $20 investment. This book potentially could save you, I don't know, what your net worth is. Could save you thousands, it could save you millions. I don't know. But, look, I've dealt with all sorts of characters. I've dealt with, all sorts of degenerates out there, whether they were just low-life stock promoters, scammer CEOs, guys in the mob, et cetera, et cetera. Every walk of life I've dealt with. And you learn a couple things, right, from these guys. Read this book. It'll tell you how to spot these scams. Anyway, let's get into the stock. So what's fascinating about Genius is that the short squeeze actually was pretty interesting, right? Now, this guy, Roger Hamilton, right? Now, the guy's basically a grifter. Now, I'm not saying he's a scammer. I'm not saying there's it. I don't know if there's any fraud. There could be fraud. I'm not saying that there was fraud. I'm not making any claims about that. Look, the guy's basically a hustler, right? I mean, but the guy's done an amazing job, and hats off to Roger Hamilton. He was able to really ride this thing because the guy has, I don't know if these followers are legitimate or not. I'm assuming probably half of it is a little bit fugazi. He's got supposedly 1 million followers on Twitter, on YouTube. He's got a big social media following. Apparently, he teaches people how to become entrepreneurs. That's what he does. He teaches people how to become entrepreneurs. Unfortunately, his business is a failing business. It's losing money. So I would not take lessons from a guy who's losing money. That's what Genius Group is. Now, but he was able to galvanize like a movement, sort of like a low-rent version of AMC. Sort of what you saw happen with AMC or a couple of these other short squeezes like, what's the one? The video game one with GameStop. We saw a small-scale version of that with Genius. And this guy was really able, he was really able to play the whole social media aspect. It was impressive. I mean, look, hats off, the guy did an impressive job. Now, about a week ago, I said, look, this thing is done. It's losing momentum. This thing is going to go back to zero. Sure enough, it's been going down from $6. I think I put out a tweet at $7 or $6. There was a couple of right over here in this area. It was kind of hanging around. The stock was trying to make a stand. But look, ultimately, this is garbage. Sure enough, now we had the sell signal, the official sell signal over here at 357. And today is the big one. Today's the big one, breaking down, well, actually really 360. But look, now it's breaking below the 50-day moving average. It's official. This thing is done. It's game over for this thing. It's garbage. Now, I believe this thing will eventually go back to, essentially, I think it's going to go out of business. It's going to be like one of these things that is going to be a zombie stock for a number of years before it eventually winds down. Because this guy's a great hustler. He's a great hustler. And I think he'll eventually, he's trying to gin up a couple of things here. He'll keep it kind of going. But at some point, these guys are going to run out of money and go bust. Their business model is garbage. You can see that they're losing money. But here's what's interesting. This is amazing. So this guy, I love following the stock because this is like really the worst type of grifter that I've ever encountered in my life. So now he sues. Okay, so he files a lawsuit today, right? March 1. He files this lawsuit. Hang on, let me bring up this lawsuit. It's amazing. What a low life. So he files this lawsuit. Hang on, let me bring this up to the full glory. The full glory. Okay, so Roger Hamilton files a lawsuit. Genius Group sues Alto Opportunity Master Fund of Waskas Katira. Okay, he's basically suing a couple of these pipe funds, basically guys who do private placements in public companies, seeking an order that rescinds and declares a financing agreement. Now, financing agreement with Ayrton Capital to be null and void unilaterally. So Roger Hamilton basically. A couple months back, he borrowed $18 million. Roger Hamilton borrows $18 million. He puts it into writing. And I'm trying to find the actual filing. It's on the SEC website. No, look, guys, I'm a very busy guy. I can't be bothered to look through all their bullshit financials. It's such a mess. The Genius financials, all the registration, there's so many notes and so much bullshit there. It's impossible to go through it. It would take hours to read it. But the bottom line is this, right? So they borrowed $18 million, which is a convertible note. Ayrton's going to convert into 49 million shares of common. Okay. So the guy signed a contract to borrow money, $18 million. That's not a joke, right? You're borrowing $18 million. Now, the guys who are lending you, anybody who lends you $18 million generally is pretty sophisticated. Now, I'm assuming Roger has, pretty sophisticated lawyers as well. I mean, he's hiring some shysters, he's hiring, Better Call Saul to sue these guys. Now, it's amazing. He borrows the money, $18 million. That's a lot of fucking money for a failing company. I mean, anybody who lends $18 million to a failing company that's losing money obviously has to, they're smart, right? So the note is convertible to shares. I can't find the details on the conversion of the note. I haven't been able to, I can't find it. I don't have time to go through this, but is it converting it into 49 million shares? Oh, apparently it is, right? The guy signed a contract. So now he's stating that, it's null and void. We borrowed the $18 million, but we don't owe you. We were screwed. We were screwed. We're victims. We're victims. It is, what a fucking clown. Roger Hamilton is an absolute clown. So the guy borrows $18 million, and now he's claiming he's a victim. He's saying it's a death spiral fund. Roger, I'm assuming when you're borrowing that type of money, you have, counsel, right? You have sophisticated lawyers, right? I mean, you're trading on the New York Stock Exchange, for God's sake. So Roger Hamilton borrows $18 million, and now he's claiming that he didn't know that it was a convertible note. He didn't know it. He had no idea it was convertible to 40. He had no idea. He's innocent victim, a babe in the woods. Roger Hamilton is a babe in the woods, and now he's claiming that this thing is null and void. He hires some shysters. He hires these shysters. Warshaw Burstein. I don't know. That sounds very Christian Levine. Whoa, that's an interesting Christian Levine. Wow, that's an interesting name. That's like a Jew and a Gentile. I mean, Christian. I mean, what name is more Christian than Christian, and what more is Jewish than Levine? I mean, that's an interesting law firm. Okay, you get the best of both worlds, right? I guess they're trying to appeal to the entire market. Now they need one. They need one more. They got to get like a Muhammad and a Patel. So if they made it Christian, Levine, Muhammad, and Patel, they would have the entire market covered. They would have the whole world. They would have all four major religions covered. So man, what interesting. So I never heard of these firms. Warshaw Burstein sounds vaguely familiar, but these guys are ambulance chasers. I mean, this is a ridiculous lawsuit, which I believe is going to be without merit. And now he's claiming, it's toxic. You know what this reminds me of? I mean, this kind of reminds me of what's going on with this guy. What's his name? Harvey Weinstein, the movie producer. Harvey Weinstein, great movie producer. And I'm not saying the guy's a humanitarian. Okay, most people in the entertainment business. Okay, and look, I met a lot of guys in that business. I lived in LA for a number of years. They're amazing salespeople. The guys who are in the movie business. All aspects of it. I mean, whether you're talking about editors, they're amazing salespeople. They're amazing storytellers. At the end of the day, they're all basically scumbags. I mean, literally every one of them is a scumbag and a prostitute, thief. It's just the nature of the beast. It's like the music business. The entertainment business is absolutely corrupt. Where am I going with this? All right, so Harvey Weinstein, he was a producer, right? The guy got into the business. Why did he get into the business? I mean, I thought of getting into the movie business a while back. Why would I get into that business? Obviously to make money, but really, I mean, look, there's only one reason why men go into the movie business. There's only one reason. You guys know what that reason is. That's the only reason to do it. So here's the thing. So Harvey Weinstein basically was offering, it's the old casting couch. Who is basically offering actresses, hey, whatever, I'm going to put you in this movie. You got to blow me. You got to do this. You got to do that. And, there were hundreds. The guys was in this business for 25, 50 years, however long he's been doing it. Forever, right? 30, 40, 50 years. He made some great movies, right? And who are his best friends? Michelle Obama said great things about him on video. There's videos out there. Michelle Obama, right? Ms. America, Michelle Obama, she's apparently, like a wonderful lady. Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, everybody in the Democratic Party said great things about Harvey Weinstein because he was a major donor. Now, Harvey Weinstein, basically, his whole thing was he had great taste in movies. The guy's really a genius when it came to making movies. He's basically a thief. The guy's a pretty crooked guy, which most people in the movie business are. In the record business, it's just a crooked business, right? He was doing the old casting couch. He was trying to bang actresses. He would say, "Look, I'll put you in the movie. You got to do this for me, that for me, etc." And they all did it. They did it. That's right. That's right. Harvey Weinstein probably banged, I don't know, hundreds of actresses, hundreds of them, maybe thousands in over 25 years. And all of a sudden, they all coming out and saying, "Oh, I was raped. I was raped. It was all against my will and this or that, whatever. Oh, I didn't." Here's what's interesting. There is the acting business, the theater business historically, theater business going back to the days of Shakespeare always had a very sordid reputation because most actors, actresses were prostitutes. Going back to the days of Shakespeare, this is true. They were all essentially prostitutes. It's not much different because you're selling your body, you're selling your sexual services, you're acting as same idea. It's not much of a difference. Listen, if I had a daughter, I would never ever allow her to go into the acting business ever. I mean, I'd have to do like what they do in the Muslim world. What do they call it? A honor killing. I'd have to kill her or something. You have to do an honor killing because basically it's a business of prostitution. So you have all these hookers in Hollywood. Now they're saying, "Oh, Harvey raped them." No, it was a deal. You guys made a deal. He said, "Look, in exchange for providing sexual services, you're going to put me into a movie." It's a deal. It's a contract. And Roger Hamilton is basically that prostitute. Roger Hamilton is a whore. He made a deal with this guy whatever his name is, Wakas, whatever. What's his name? Wakas Khatri. Wakas, what is this guy? Pakistani or something? Whatever it is. The guy obviously. Listen, Wakas gave you $18 million, Roger. When you take $18 million from somebody, there's a price to pay. Okay, you got lawyers. You should know what the deal is. Another case example. I mean, this is outrageous. It's like this guy, Jeff Epstein. Ironically, actually, by one degree of separation, I knew a lot of people who did business with Jeff Epstein in the art business when I was kind of in that business a number of years back. And, I said, well, a great guy, a little bit weird, always had a lot of really great looking girls with him whenever he came around. Now they're saying, "Oh, he raped these girls. Oh, it was victims. They're victims." No, look, this guy's a pervert, right? The guy's a pervert. Look, I don't tell people what to do with their time, with their money. Apparently, the guy was, he was paying girls, a couple $100 to give him massages, maybe a hand job, who knows what, right? But he wasn't raping them. It was a deal. He was giving them money to perform a service. Now, look, now all of a sudden they're saying, "Oh, they're victims. They're victims. Oh, they were underage." I don't know, whether they're 17, maybe 18. I have no, look, I'm not here to judge whatever. I know in the United States we have, all these laws are quite arbitrary, actually. The legal age of consent, I know in some states it's 18. I think in some states it's like 14 or 16. I think it's 16 for sure in a lot of states. It could be 14 in a few. Definitely the Deep South. And also, I think 14 is the age in a lot of European countries. So this whole thing with the age of consent, oh, these girls were victims. As far as I know, Jeffrey Epstein did not engage in any sexual activity with minors let's say below the age of puberty, right? Which legitimately, that is kind of the cutoff, right? That makes you a pedophile. I mean, that legitimately is a pedophile. For girls 15, in some places it's legal. The reality is this: look, there is an absolute, which is, I think any girl over the age of puberty, over the age of 12, knows what's going on, right? She can make a decision. If she's 14, she can make a decision, right? Now, I'm not saying you should go out and have sex with 14-year-old girls. Don't get me wrong here. The point is this: all these alleged victims of Jeffrey Epstein, They were essentially prostitutes, every one of them. And especially one of these girls came out in an article and she said, "Oh, I was a victim, and I met this guy, and then he convinced me. He convinced me to introduce him to other girls. So this girl was basically a pimp. She was pimping out other girls in her class in the high school. This is really perverted. I mean, this girl was recruiting her classmates. I think this was high school. I'm pretty sure it was high school. So, I think in Florida, maybe the age of consent is 18. So, I guess there it's illegal. I don't know. Look. But anyway, so this girl recruited a bunch of her friends. She pimped out her friends to Jeffrey Epstein. She got paid. I think he was giving like $100 per girl, whatever it is. And now she's a victim. And here's the crazy thing. Now, all these scumbags, these whores, they sued the estate. And I don't know why they settled, but apparently a lot of these girls got like probably $1 million apiece, couple million apiece. You got this other one that was suing, I think she was suing Ghislaine Maxwell and what is it? The Prince Andrew for like $100 million that he was also raped or took advantage. Now that girl, from what I understand, is she was probably at least 18 or 17, whatever. Who knows? 18. And Prince Andrew apparently, look, I mean, this girl was. I guarantee you, she was not a virgin. We know this for a fact. She was not a virgin when she met him. She probably had a lot of experience under her belt. And like, this guy was Prince Andrew. This is like, third in line or second in line to the throne of England, right? After Prince Charles. I mean, listen, this is every woman's fantasy, the prince, knight in shining armor. And, she was banging this guy. I think he probably gave her some money. All of a sudden, 20 years later, I'm a victim. The guy victimized me. Meanwhile, there's pictures of them holding, he's hugging her. She's hugging him. This girl's flying around on a private jet. I think this is the one that was sent to like Thailand. I think Jeffrey Epstein paid for her to go to like massage school. Apparently, the guy was like a massage freak or something. He trained her how to do, Thai massage or whatever. And I think she met a guy and she married a guy in Bangkok on Jeffrey Epstein's dime. And after that, after she married this guy, all of a sudden she flipped and now she's a victim. So this is what happens. Now, and apparently I think she married a guy in Australia. I think this guy, Roger Hamilton, is Australian. Let me tell you something. Australians, they're all lowlife and degenerates. I mean, they're basically, speaking of prostitutes, whores, prostitutes, and thieves, Australia is a country of basically whores, prostitutes, and thieves because England shipped all their convicts to Australia. That's right. All of England's convicts were shipped to Australia back in, I think, in the 1700s. So, and all the Australians, their DNA essentially is like low-life DNA. They're all scumbags, basically. If you go back 3, 4, 5 generations, they're all basically either thieves, robbers, rapists, murderers, whatever. Who knows what they were doing? Who knows? I mean, all sorts of, sodomy type crimes. That's Australia. I mean, look up. It's a fact. It's a fact, right? That's why they're called POMEs, P-O-M-E, prisoner of Mother England. Anyway, so this is guy Roger Hamilton basically is trying to renege. He's claiming to be a victim, and this shows that this thing is garbage, that he's a lowlife. He's claiming to be a victim, and he's suing this company after they gave him $18 million. After they gave this guy $18 million. I mean, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, what a low-life degenerate. Listen, my target for the stock is 0. I believe this is going to go to absolute 0 at some point. It might take a few years to go to 0, but it's definitely going to be in the, below 50 cents. Now let's talk about another Fugazi stock, Now Vertical. I told you guys this was basically, I mean, this is not a scam stock. I mean, it's, it's a real business. I mean, I think their business model is not going to work. This roll-up of tech firms, SaaS firms. Again, it's going into a down market. They're probably overpaying for things. They're going to have integration issues with these deals. They're going to start blowing up. I'm expecting the next 6 months, which usually happens when you're doing these roll-ups. And the problem is the guy doesn't know how to promote the stock. He doesn't know anything about capital markets, which is, what the hell is this guy's name? I can't remember. The guy, another loser. I told you guys the stock at 70 cents. I told you about it. That this thing was going to go down bigly. And sure enough, it's been going down. I was right about this. I think ultimately it's probably going to go down to 15 cents, maybe lower. You know, look, this reminds me of a former client. This is kind of sad. Skylight Health, SLHG. It's a stock we introduced back in November of 2020, December. I think it was December of 2020. It was probably, I think it was over here. Yeah, November. Yeah. So it was around two. They did a reverse split. Basically, look, the stock tripled from the time that we introduced it. It tripled. The CEO, this guy Prad, great salesman. Really, I mean, the guy really has a talent. It's really sad. I mean, this guy could have been an absolute winner, an absolute champ. He could have been. He had, I mean, he had everything it took. And sure enough, he blew it. Sure enough, look, we'll work with this guy 6 months. The stock triples. And right about in May, he decides he's going to go into NASDAQ. He hires or he brings in some fancy chairman, some chairman, some bum, some guy who made a couple bucks or whatever in the healthcare space. And Prad is a dummy. He's a little bit naive. And he thinks, oh, this guy's gonna whatever this guy says, I'm gonna do it. Now this chairman apparently told him, hey, we're gonna go on NASDAQ and I'm gonna introduce you to institutional investors. You got to stop all this promotion nonsense, this retail promotion, because this is low class. It's low class. Because I'm a high class guy. I'm a scumbag who basically made a bunch of money promoting the stock. I'm on NASDAQ and I sold it and now I'm a genius. Right? That's the chairman of Skylight. So Prad listens to this guy because Prad, I thought the guy was smart. He's not smart. He's a fucking moron. Prad is a fucking moron. So Prad listens to this guy, and he decides to stop all engagement with retail investors. He stops right around over here. I mean, you could see this chart. I mean, it was June. It was June of 21. He says, hey, we're going to be on NASDAQ. And by the way, I think our last YouTube video it's on YouTube that we did with Prad. We did an interview right after you went on NASDAQ. And I was like, wow, I was very happy for the guy because look, it's an amazing thing when a company, uplists, goes from being, on the scam, the CSE exchange. Oh, now he went on the TSX, the Toronto Scam Exchange. So he uplisted, which was actually downlisted from the CSE to the TSX. And then he went on NASDAQ. I was happy for the guy. Look, I had options. I wanted to exercise. We did everything that we were supposed to do. And as soon as he stopped engaging with investors, stocks started dropping. But, the guy's a genius, right? He's listening to his chairman who's telling him, hey, I'm going to bring you institutional investors. What happened to those institutional investors? They never came. That's right. Prad basically stopped doing what was working. And, it's unfortunate. I talk about this in my book. There's guys who are champions and there's guys who are just fly by night. And Prad is a fly by night mooch bum. He could have been a massive champion. He could have been one of the all-time greats. Again, you got to read this book, Tin Bagger Blueprint. It'll tell you everything you need to know how to spot companies that are the real deal and companies that are, unfortunately, this guy was the wrong guy. I mean, and that business plan could have worked. But now, why am I bringing the stock up? Skylight. Same business model as Now Vertical. Same business model. Roll-ups of, in the healthcare space. Now Vertical is doing them in the IT space. By the way, both of these guys, whether it's Pratt or this guy, what's his name? Dean, not Dean. The guy from Now Vertical, Darren. They were never in that business. I mean, they're new to that business, really. Pratt was never in that business. I mean, he had no real expertise in that business. Sure enough, he made a bunch of bad deals. Now they're winding down the deals. And you see what's going on. I believe what's happening with Skylight is exactly what's going to happen to Skylight Health. Skylight Health, SLHG, is a template for what's going to happen with Now Vertical. So Now Vertical is, I believe, going to be worthless at some point in the future. It's definitely going to be below 15 cents in the next few months. I told you it was going to happen. Guys, I'm doing this 25 years. I created over $1 trillion in shareholder wealth. They call me the $1 trillion man. I know how these things work. So I can tell you that Now Vertical is going to be worthless. Now, let me bring you an update also with a couple of other Fugazi stocks, my favorite Fugazis, which I believe are also going to be worthless at some point. The reason I'm telling you is this. I don't want you guys to get taken in by these pump and dump scams, these Scamcouver companies. So Verse, look, I've been telling you guys about this one for a while. And there's a lot of, they must be spending millions of dollars of promotion. They got all sorts of promoters out there that are illegally, that's right, illegally, fraudulently promoting the stock without disclosing that they're paid or how much they're paid. There's legitimate securities fraud going on in the promotion of Versus. I'm telling you right here, 100% there is securities fraud, violations of SEC, BCSC regulations when it comes to promoting this stock. Now, why aren't the regulators doing anything? I believe it's because some of them are getting paid off. I believe some guys at the BCSC are getting paid off. Absolutely. The SEC, probably not, but the Canada, Vancouver, it's very incestuous. We know that these guys for sure have some sort of interest. Otherwise, they would have, put an end to this. This company is basically garbage. It's pure garbage. It's a pure pump and dump in the legal sense. I'm not saying it's a scam. I'm not saying it's a fraud. I'm saying it's a scam, but it's not a fraud. If you read 10 Bagger Blueprint, you'll understand there's a fine line, right? So what they're doing is, I think from the company, as far as I know, is legal. Now the promotion side, there's definitely fraud going on, 100%. Benzinga, we know, was fraudulently promoting the stock. They're getting paid. They're not disclosing how much they're getting paid, which is a violation of SEC Rule 17B. I know a little bit about this because I had experience myself. But what these guys are doing is absolutely egregious. It's really shocking to me that they're letting Canadian investors get fleeced. They're going to get Canadians get fleeced by this piece of garbage. So this thing has a market cap of, I don't know, $50 million. The market cap is $50 million. What is the business? The financials that I saw, their revenues basically have been going down. They've only been in business 2 years. The numbers are probably overinflated. We don't know how they account for revenues, what's related party transactions, what's not. But the point is that whatever they're selling is nobody wants it. They're claiming to be an AI company. Okay, they're an AI company. I mean, there's a million AI companies right now, right? Everybody's in the AI business. Now, apparently, here's the amazing thing. There's I think I put out a tweet. I say, look, this thing is basically, it's a Scamcouver, classic Scamcouver pump and dump. And the guy said, oh, no, these guys are all from California. Oh, the CEO is from LA and the other guy's from Silicon Valley. I got news for you, my friends. I mean, if you've been around the block, you'll understand this. And again, I talk about this in the 10 Bagger Blueprint. You got to get this book on Amazon. You got to get this on Amazon. It'll save you a lot of money. It'll make you a lot of money. Typically, companies that are, go onto the CSC, TS, whatever, the typical penny stocks. The reason, if you have a great company that's a penny stock, there's a reason why they went public as a penny stock. It's because they couldn't clear market with VCs. That's right. They couldn't clear market with the smart money. Okay. If the guy's in California, right? AI is a hot sector, right? And now I actually haven't watched any videos with this guy. So I don't know what he's like. I mean, he looks like a grifter to me. He's got like a weird beard or something. There's something about him that's very scammy. And I gotta look, they claim to have AI. I have, AI is pattern recognition. I have pattern recognition. I've created $1 trillion in wealth for investors. I'm the $1 trillion man, right? I'm doing this 25 years. I've dealt with every type of character in the space, a couple thousand clients, right? This guy, to me, he reminds me of a lot of grifters. I don't know what he's doing. I don't have the time. I don't have the resources. And also, there's nothing in it for me. I'm not short the stock, right? What's in it for me? I believe the guy's a grifter, and it's a pump and dump. Now, here's the thing. If the guy's in California, he's a California company, why wasn't he able to raise money? I mean, California, that's like VC central, right? You got trillions of dollars in capital that want to go into the AI space, right? The reason why he wasn't able to do is he wasn't good enough. And I talk about this again in the 10 Bagger Blueprint. Companies end up, as penny stocks. They go public as penny stocks on the the CSC, TSX, whatever, is because a lot of times simply they're not good enough for traditional VCs. And here's the scary thing: because these guys went public, was it 2 years ago? I mean, or they raised money 2 years ago, whatever. This was the prime. I mean, VCs were throwing money at everything, everything. I mean, the underwriting standards were super low. 2020, I mean, these guys were throwing hundreds of billions into any idea that, I mean, anybody that had a pulse in Silicon Valley was able to raise money. The fact that these guys were not able to raise money from the smart money tells you everything you need to know. That tells you everything you need to know. Their chairman, look up this guy, the chairman, I don't remember his name. He's a loser. The guy claims to be some visionary, whatever it is. If you look at his career, if you do any investigation, the guy's basically a mooch bum. The last company he was a chairman of or CEO is down like 95%. He's one of these storytellers, one of these TED Talk speakers. There's like a million of these guys. This guy, the CEO, is a bum. Anyway, this thing is a pump and dump. Guys, trust me, this thing will be absolutely worthless. Now, the problem is I can't tell you when right now because there's so much promotion going to the stock. I wouldn't be short the stock, actually. I would not short it because it may have a pop. It may pop, but there's definitely distribution going on. People are getting out of it. There's a lot of people who I think the whole thing is fabricated. The trading activity looks to me very suspicious, very suspicious. I absolutely believe there is definitely wash trades going on in different markets. It's a manipulation. Look at this. This thing went public, all of a sudden starts trading, goes straight up. Oh my God, it goes straight up. And then they raise a bunch of money. This thing it's fabricated. It's a fugazi, okay? It's a fugazi. I'm not saying it's a fraud. I'm not saying the company is doing anything. Could be they are. I have no idea. It could be. But I can't, I have no proof of it. But it's definitely, it's a fugazi, right? It's like, there's a bunch of bullshit. And it's going to be worthless at some point. Now, my other favorite stock that's a fugazi is FOBI, which is basically FOBI means fugazi in, I'm not sure which language, but FOBI translates into fugazi. I told you guys about the stock before. Now, what's interesting is this. The chart is actually looking pretty good. The chart is looking pretty good. Now, this thing is absolute garbage bullshit. It's a total piece of shit. The CEO is absolute garbage. This guy's like the Rob Ford of penny stocks. I mean, I don't know if the guy's smoking crack. He could be. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not saying he is or he isn't. But he definitely has that look. He looks like Rob Ford, the mayor of Toronto that was the crackhead. This thing looks like it might have a run. This thing might have a run. It's crazy. I would not be short FOBI here. Ultimately, it will be worthless. Mark my words, FOBI will be worthless. But I think it may have a pop. It's all anybody who buys into this anybody who holds on to this is going to lose their money. But the chart looks strong. Legitimately, it's got momentum. I'm not going to deny it. I think maybe a smart trade would be to be long FOBI, short, what is it? That other piece of shit, VERS. That's right. I would be long FOBI. And here's why I like FOBI better. And again, they're both bullshit companies. They both have garbage. What's interesting is FOBI actually, they got a real low-life scumbag behind it. I don't know if he's still involved, but a real scumbag. I don't want to mention his name, but I think you guys know who I'm talking about. And I had some dealings with this lowlife. And he's got a track record. I think he barely dodged a insider trading case a number of years back. A real lowlife. I think he's promoting it. And he's got these. I don't know if these guys are these suckers at StockFam, whatever. But he's got some. I think those retail guys or the Discord Muppet channels are promoting this stock. They probably get paid off to promote it. So this thing. But look, there's thousands of suckers. That's right, suckers, dummies who are buying this stock, which is absolutely worthless, and it will be zero at some point. But in the meanwhile, it's got some traction, and I think this thing has a better shot because it's got a deeper, wider shareholder base, It's got like a bit of a cult following with dummies like the stock fam losers, the scammers at stock fam, thousands of bag holders. I mean, these guys really, I mean, they should be in jail. I mean, I'm surprised that these guys are not in jail. Apparently, they may have paid off the guys at the BCSC or Ontario Securities Commission or whatever. I think that's what's going on in Canada. If you pay off the right people, look, we know for a fact that China owns Canada, right? They paid for the elections. They own Justin Trudeau. I have pretty good evidence that they actually have a couple of. I know this is not a conspiracy theory, but they do have a couple of agents inside the TSX Venture Exchange. They've got a couple of guys on the payroll, gals, I should say, actually, who are paid by the Chinese Communist Party. I know this for a fact. That are sort of deeply planted in. Why? I know it sounds crazy. Oh, it's a conspiracy theory. Oh, no. Why would China want to control the Toronto Stock Exchange? Think about it. TSX. That's where all the resource companies in the world are listed on the TSX. China needs to control natural resources. That's why they're very active in Africa, right, in terms of the actual mining space. And if they can control and manipulate the Canadian mining stocks, that gives them a leg up. The Chinese are very smart people. I mean, really, the Americans, the Canadians, they're playing checkers, right? If you put Joe Biden and Justin Trudeau together, I mean that's like a retarded checkers player. Not even checkers. They're playing like I don't know, Parcheesi or whatever. I mean, they're playing like Mickey Mouse games. The Chinese are playing the long game. The Chinese, they're not looking 6 months out. The Chinese are looking 100 years out. They're playing the long game, and they're very smart. And the Chinese have Canada locked up. I mean, they paid for Justine Trudeau, right? We're finding that out right now. I'm telling you for a fact that they control the TSX. They got agents in the TSX Venture Exchange. So that market, they have their hands in that. Why? They need to control battery metals, lithium. They need to control also strategic materials. And by having control of the TSXV, they're able to manipulate different things, right? That's the way it works. Anyway, bottom line is, and this thing, ironically, FOBI is listed on the Toronto Scam Exchange, aka Toronto TSX Venture. Listen, Skylight also TSX Venture. Now Vertical also the TSX Venture is the scam exchange. Literally, it's the Toronto Scam Exchange. It's a total fraud. Okay, it's run. They got also morons involved, and they're also Chinese spies. That's right, they're Chinese spies. They're spying for China. They're manipulating the market to the benefit of the Chinese Communist Party. And look, I'm going to be putting out some information about that in the future because I got some, stuff that's pretty explosive. I got some evidence that's blow people's minds. It's shocking. It's some of these guys are, if they're not in jail or if they don't blow their brains out, I'd be surprised. It's a massive scandal brewing at the Toronto Scam Exchange, aka the TMX Group TSX Venture Exchange. You heard it here first. Actually, let me look up that stock, the TMX Group. TMX Group. The chart actually looks, kind of hanging on. It's actually, it's the trend technically is still up. It's kind of been churning. It's churning. It's not going anywhere, but it's not going down. I would not short the thing just yet. I would wait till it drops below like 116, 120, which I believe it will. This is a massive, massive scam, the Toronto Stock Exchange. The CEO of this company is an absolute grifter. Absolute total grifter. But in the meanwhile, the trend is actually up. This thing, this guy's a scammer. No question. He's, all these Canadian guys in Toronto, they know the game. They're expert scammers. So bottom line is you want to be short GNS, not a device, not an investment device. GNS is a stock that's going to go to zero. I told you about this before. Now vertical, NOW.V, another piece of shit that is already it's already dropped by 50%. Now vertical and GNS have dropped below 50% from where I told you they were going to go. So already down. So I was right about those. Now, the only ones that still we need to hammer is Versus, VERS.NE on the Fugazy Neo exchange. This one is, at some point going to collapse. It might have a pop. It may, I'm looking at this, it might break to $1.20. But again, guys, this is garbage, right? You think about it. You're paying, $60 million for this business that has like, what, $1 million in revenues. That's, questionable. That's not the way things work. I mean, that's not a sustainable valuation. It's above the moving average. So, the trend is up. The trend is up. It might pop. FOBI, I think for sure the trend is up. I wouldn't be buying the stock because I think it's a scam. It's a pump and dump. But it is definitely, the trend is up. It's above the moving averages. It might pop. It might really pop. It might go to $1.50 potentially. Ultimately, though, it's garbage. It's a worthless company. The CEO reminds me of Rob Ford, the crackhead mayor of Toronto. And that's it, my friends. Again, if you want to know how to spot these scams, short these stocks, you got to get the book 10 Bagger Blueprint. And also, you'll learn how to find stocks which have 10x to 100x upside potential. Get the book on Amazon. It's $20 now. And we're going to be raising the price again. It was $14.95. Now it's $19.95, and the price is only going to be going up. This is going to be collector's item. All right. Thank you for joining. See you in the next one.